Hi, hello. Hi, hello, and welcome to another edition of Live with Ms. Kier. MZ, capital K, capital I, capital R. That is Ms. Kier. Stands for Keeping It Real, also known as Topra. Show your love out there, folks. So, tonight we have special guests. Show your love for my guest, Sodet Knox. Woo!
Ooh, yeah. Ready for this.
Even
And
though
my co-host
even though you
tonight,
can't see me.
and my co-host tonight, we have Jenavia Powell.
Aww.
Uh, Justine Luca was supposed to be
Hey.
on tonight, but she was unable to. Shout out to her. Delicia Roberts was supposed to be on tonight, but she is ill. So shout out to them and hope to see them on a future live with Miss Kier. This is live with Miss Kier via SBN, the Small Business Network, episode 325, I think, and episode 11 of Live with Miss Kier. And we have Coessence Spoken Word. She's in the building. She says hello. And Teresa Hazeleye. She said, hey, hey. So welcome. Shout outs to them. Coessence
Hey.
was the host last week, and we had big fun. Did we have big fun, Coessence? It was me, Coessence, and Genevieve. We was
Yeah,
having
that was fun.
big
It
fun. Oh,
was.
yes,
We got to do that again.
absolutely. So, all those out there in Facebook
Oh,
land,
nice.
YouTube land, whatever land you're watching on, again, welcome, 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 welcome. So, Sadet or Bodet, as you are affectionately known, Sadet, tell the
That
listeners
was
and
Pepsi's fault. That wasn't my fault.
the tell the listeners and the
Wasn't
viewers.
my fault.
Shaggy, wasn't me. um, Sadet,
Okay.
tell the listeners about yourself.
It wasn't me.
Said it wasn't her, folks.
Okay. So my name is Sodet Knox. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I'm sorry. Camera's having some ugly issues out here, so I hope y'all can hear me. But I'm the oldest of three. I was born in Newark, New Jersey.
Brick
And we moved
City.
we moved certain areas in New Jersey. We lived in East Orange, and then most of my childhood we spent in Plainfield, New Jersey.
T-Field in the
I went
building.
to Hubbard for my last year. I went to Hubbard for eighth grade, and then I attended Plainfield High School and graduated class of 90. Well, all right, might as well say it. I don't care. Class of 91. I'm 51 years old. You know, I'll be
Oh,
52 in January. Um,
Wow.
from Plainfield, I went to New Jersey City University, also formerly known as Jersey City State College. After that, I worked with kids on and off at the time. And then in 2000, I ended up working at a school in Newark, New Jersey called the Chad School, which was a private institution at the time. I worked there up until they closed down. And then afterwards, I was traveling from Jersey City to Plainfield again because I was working at a Head Start. So I've been in education pretty much more than half of my life because my mom was an early childhood educator as well. And I always used to like helping my mom, cut out things for her students. And, I used to play school back in the day when we didn't have much else. We played school and just had a lot of fun. And when I started teaching out in Plainfield, I ended up moving to New York City, which is where I am now. I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Harlem for the last decade, and just about 2 years ago, I ended up moving to the Bronx and I still work in Brooklyn. It's a long way now, but I work as a reading interventionist for now. And as I was sharing with the ladies, I'm, finishing up my teacher's exam. These exams are not for play. Like, you really got to know your stuff. And so pretty much that's what I'm doing now, because by this September coming, I should be in my own classroom.
All
And I
right.
have two kids. I have two kids. I have one who's 29, that Tanisha has known ever since I was pregnant with her, who is 29 and has her own family. So now I'm a grandparent, and I have a soon to be 18-year-old who's about to graduate high school as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
Solid. One time for Bodette No and her children, J Boogie and Z Boogie. Yeah. J and Z Boogie. Yeah. Snap it up for Bodette and her children. Okay.
Definitely. And
So,
what you say, 52? You don't look 52 in your
And
pictures.
thank you. I've been around kids all my life. I've always had friends, and I've always worked with kids, but I've always had friends who are, even still, I'm the oldest in the group, but everybody think I'm like, no, you're not. It's like, wait a minute, you're a grandparent? I'm like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she
Oh,
just started kindergarten this September, as a matter of fact.
oh,
oh,
little Debo. Oh,
Yeah, she enjoys school, so that's a good thing.
it is. Oh,
Yeah.
little Debo.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, Bodette and I, we went to high school together. So Bodette and I, we
Yeah.
go way back,
Wow.
way back, like
Like
Shirley
babies with
Coat.
pacifiers. That
Okay,
girl, Sherlin goes, oh my God.
three-finger nugget ring, two-tone pants.
Mm.
Oh God, that was the worst fashion I ever seen in my life.
Oh, man.
Yeah, some of the fashion. Oh, sometimes I'll be like, mm-mm, that is not
Like,
it.
I need
sometimes
to
I
see
used
some
to be
pictures.
like, yeah, those two-tone pants. At first, I was looking at them. I was like, okay, oh my God, those are so cute. Then,
Uh-huh.
sometimes on Facebook they have those back in the days flashbacks. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm glad my mother never wore this so far. I was like, oh, what was I thinking?
Right, right. And
Mm.
also, welcome to the house. We have Kanisha Akra, who was a guest on my show back in September the 20th. So show your love for Kanisha Akra. Kanisha
Hi,
Akra.
Kanisha.
How you doing, girl? How you doing?
That.
So Jennifer, you have any questions for Sodet?
So you're a teacher. What grade do you teach exactly?
uh, well, when I first started teaching, I taught fourth grade. And
Okay.
at the time, the kids were cool, but they knew I was new, so they tried almost every trick in the book to try to get to me. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, all right, you know what? First thing is, I'm thinking in my mind as I'm teaching, I'm like, oh, some of y'all need a spanking for real. But
Girl.
like, and that was fourth grade then. We're talking 2000. So,
Hmm.
but after
Mm.
a while, even though my previous vice principal, she was hard on me, but I still very much appreciate her to this day, because she made me who I am, and she always told me, make these parents accountable for their kids' actions.
Yeah.
So when I was working there, I taught fourth grade, and her and my principal decided to get together, and it was like, you know what? She's a good teacher. However, let her work with the younger grades. So from fourth grade, I ended up going to
Yeah.
first, and I taught first grade
Mm-hmm.
for like 3 years straight, and I loved it. And then after that,
Oh, okay.
I went to second grade, and I taught second grade. So by the time I ended my second grade year at the school that summer, coming to find out the school had closed down, I was really devastated, because I really
Hmm.
liked it there. Yeah, I really liked it there. But what I ended up doing was, I ended up going back to Plainfield, and I started working at the Head Start that was on Park Avenue. And I don't know if anybody remembers during this time when they used to have the Grand Avenue Community Center, where I know where a lot of parties took place at.
Yeah, I
And
remember
I
that.
never, yeah, but I never went to those parties. I only the only time I was in there was when I was working, and in my mind I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Grand Avenue Community Center. Everybody talks about, but it was cool. So I worked with various grades. However, this particular year, I'm going to talk about this year. This year, because I work as a reading interventionist, which is I'm kind of like a paraprofessional, if you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I work with students. I work in each classrooms, and I work with a group of students who are below grade level with reading. Like if you're in the sixth grade, but you might read on a second or first grade level.
Wow.
So a lot of my kids that I work with are in that particular, range of reading.
Yeah.
But, my job is to help them, making sure that I assess them using a tool called Ames Web.
Mm-hmm.
Ames Web is pretty much a tool that we use to measure students' reading, and especially if their reading is really, like below their particular grade level.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure that they're reading every day and providing them with additional assessments because of the fact that we just have to make sure that they're staying on top of their reading. So every week, my students who are not on their grade level, I have to, okay, and they have to read like, certain stories and passages, and they have to read for like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they read, and I just look at what their score is that for that particular week. If it's going up, that definitely means that, okay, they're home practicing reading. If they're not and it's going lower, that's when I'm like, okay, I try to provide as much materials as I can, but just like anything else in regards to school, it starts at home.
Yes.
I can only do as much as I can and what materials I have. And sometimes I've even come out of pocket and I pay. And that's another problem that's going on too, where teachers are using their, money that they need for home or food. We're
Mm-hmm.
providing this for the kids. And, sometimes parents appreciate it. And then some parents are like, well, that's your job. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it is my job to help your child, but remember, that's not my kid at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're my kid. I think about them when I go home, even when I go to sleep. However, it's a partnership. It's like a
Yeah.
marriage. It's a partnership. So this
Mhm.
year, yes, I work with middle school. I work with fourth grade, and sometimes I push in certain other grades though. But I don't go like any higher than like sixth grade.
Okay.
Okay, awesome sauce. So we're
Wow.
going to go back to the comments. Orlando Chandler has joined the building. Hey, Orlando.
Hi,
Orlando was a guest.
Orlando.
Orlando was a guest with James Ellerby last month. And we will be bringing Orlando and James back at another time. And James Ellerby will be hosting next week. So yes.
Oh, nice.
Also, Orlando Chan- Orlando Chandler says sometimes Wu Tang ain't for the kids.
Hey.
Um,
Wu
Michael
Tang,
Connor.
Ice Spice, and all of them ain't for the kids either, but they still. Oh my God! Don't get me started.
Michael Connor, aka North Philly's finest, representing. And we have Maurice Huff in the building as well. He said, hey, hey. Poessing Spoken Word says, how do they gauge who gets the reading assistance? And I guess Sodet, we can answer that question for Poessence. Sodet, hello? Can you hear me?
Wow. Um.
Tech Technical difficulties, folks.
Yeah.
Tech issues. Okay, I'm gonna go back to
Sorry.
It's
the
okay
com.
because I know for that good few seconds, and I
I
see.
was what?
Losing it.
Can you
I was
hear
like,
me now?
hello, can you
Hello.
hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
so Poessa said, how do they go? Who gets the reading assistance?
It's a lot of the materials that the school provide for us, but to be honest with you, I've been working with the same program, I want to say, since I have worked with the school, and everything that we need as far as like reading assessments, we are given from the school. The only thing I would have to say is that we're going to probably need to update a lot of those materials because I've been working with the same, with pretty much the same program, and I'm very familiar with it because even at our sister school, I used that same materials and I wasn't well versed in it as I was at the first time, but now I'm definitely well versed in it. I know a lot of those stories by heart, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But to take it a step further, what I do is based on your scores, I have I'll have about three groups. Last year I had four, and I'm gonna tell you, it was hard, but it was good work, and I'll tell you like that because I had student groups ranging from my, you know, low grade level readers. I'm sorry, my window's open. That's the Bronx for you. So I'm sorry if you hear the motorcycles and everything else. But I had groups based on their reading level, and then what I would do is we would have our reading groups, and I would usually spend about 30 minutes to like 45 minutes working with each student, having them read out loud, answering comprehension questions, and a lot of times I think I did like, especially with my group who needed, my help the most. I worked with them probably for at least about 45 minutes because they're the ones who needed it. And then my other groups, I work with them, I'll say about up to about 50%, probably a little bit more. But my highest group and those who didn't need the reading program,
Mm-hmm.
they were in a group called Novel Study. Now I had a novel study group last year. Novel study for me was students who scored not only way above their grade level in reading, but we actually took a book and we studied it the entire year. And the kids really loved the book that we read last year. If you are a Judy Blume fan, we read the book Blubber.
Okay.
Blubber was a very controversial book at the time, and it talked about bullying and the consequences and the repercussions of bullying. So my girls had never heard of it, and I had mainly girls in my group. We discussed it, they had fun, and then at the end of the study, what I did was I bought them books by the same author, and they were able to pick out other Judy Blume's books, other titles and everything. But yes, what we do as far as like reading comprehension and everything, we have groups so that we're able to like keep them reading. And some of them unfortunately have problem accessing books. And the school usually takes the kids on trips to like the library so they're able to get a library card. We do a lot. I mean, off the top of my head, I can say we do a lot as far as reading, but again, it's that partnership. It's the parents. Like, just make sure, so and so is reading 30 minutes a day, for, all 7 days of the week. And the parents sometimes look at you like, why they got to read on the weekend? Because, you have free time on the weekend. I mean, I don't know everybody's schedule. I can't say what everybody's schedule is, but
Right.
I know that when I bought books for my kids, especially they read. Whenever we were going somewhere, they had a book in their hand,
Yeah.
at the time, especially with my older daughter, because we didn't have phones like, we could check, we could, tap a few buttons and then here we go.
Yes.
We got the whole world in front of us.
Yes.
We had some of us had those
Mhm.
phones that needed minutes on it. I ain't gonna
Yes.
say no names,
Right.
but you know,
Okay.
you couldn't do. But I had no problem pulling out a magazine and just reading it because I love to read.
Yeah.
I actually do. Even when I read online, I love to read. But
Mhm.
and that's the thing. You can have your fun and everything else, but it should be at least 30 minutes a day because when you read 30 minutes a day, and this is what I told my students, you read 30 minutes a day, you're exposing yourself to a wide range of languages and
Yeah.
cultures and everything else. Like it's just, you know, pretty much is all out there. You just got to look for it.
Right.
Absolutely. So back to the comments. Poesson said it takes a special person to work with children. Orlando says some parents send their kids just for babysitting purposes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also said, Rose said, that's a great book. She loves Judy Bloom. Yes, we love Judy Bloom too. And yes, Orlando, some
I'm
parents.
sorry. I didn't hear. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
okay. I'll reread the comments. Poesson said it takes a special person to
Uh-huh.
work with children. Orlando says some parents
Thank
send their
you.
kids just for babysitting purposes. And then Orlando also
Tell
said,
me
Rose
about it.
said,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yep.
Hmm.
Orlando also says, Rose said, that's a good book. She loves Judy Bloom. And Orlando also said,
Aw.
showing your age with minutes in the phone.
Look,
And
look,
the
Orlando.
OGs,
The
dog, the
struggle was real.
OGs.
The struggle do be real, man. Hey.
Yes.
And
Oh,
child,
yeah. So that when you
look,
said,
it's been times I had to run out. Huh?
oh, I was just gonna say when you said excuse you because there was motorcycles and I said on my one of my other podcasts like every time I hear a motorcycle I think of the
Uh-huh.
Rough Riders anthem and I'm like stop, drop,
Yes.
shuttle down, open up shop,
Well,
no,
look,
no,
I live near Yonkers anyway, so I live near Yonkers anyway. You should have seen it around here during the time, and Tanisha knows that DMX is one of my absolute favorite MCs, may he rest in peace. But you
that's
Yeah.
should have
my
seen it like
dog.
between Harlem and the Bronx, like the motorcycles are like the representation of that time, during the time of his passing was crazy. Like you could hear the motorcycles when your window was down, so that was crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah.
word.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Also, in the comments, we have Gladys Moore Bryce from the SBN. She's coming through showing love. And Michael Connor said it takes a village to raise a child.
Hello.
Yes, it does, Michael Connor. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
mhm,
Yes, it does. And I wish people would still follow that to this day. But you know what? The village is breaking up because our greatest storytellers are we're lacking the resources of our greatest storytellers, which is our ancestors. Our grandmother.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, our grandmothers, our grandfathers.
mhm,
I don't know. I'm gonna say this quote, and I hope I'm saying it right. Where it says, "Whereas when an elder dies, a library is burnt down or something, some
yeah.
burning or has
Local library. Yeah.
burnt down or something like that, something to
Yeah.
that effect." Yes.
Yes.
And I find that to be very true because I remember when I was younger and I used to hear my grandmother talk and I used to hear my great grandmother talk. And I'm thinking in my mind, even as I'm teaching this day, I said, I wonder what my grandmother and my great grandmother would say if they see these kids today.
Mm.
Girl.
Because they've been gone for, ever since I was in high school. So that was a minute. But I said, I always wondered to myself, like, I wonder what they would say if they see these kids. Because I know my grandmother, she used to, when something used to like totally like blow her mind, she'd be like, mm. But
Hmm.
today, I
That's
don't
the
know if she would have
time,
made a
huh?
song or
Yes.
not. Yes.
Yes.
And then my grandmother, my grandmother, she'd be like, "Ooh, child, they need a spanking." And
Hmm.
and to this day, I probably like, "Grandma, they gonna need more than that now.
Yeah.
They
You
definitely
got
gonna be
that
more than
right.
that." But
Mm.
yes, but I definitely remember just hearing some of the elders talk and just some of the experiences they went through. Like we're going through some stuff, but they went through some stuff.
Hmm.
Like for real, for real. Like they experienced a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
up close and personal, and it was just sad the stuff that I used to hear, but with them it was always that beacon of hope that they had, and a lot of a lot of my family, some of them grew up raising, help raising kids in their family. So they're,
Mm-hmm.
you can't get that from school. You can't get
Right.
that from school. It's either
Yeah.
you either have it in you or you don't.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like I said, I got teaching due to my mom, because my mom was an educator, right before
Yeah.
she left the school. And she said if she were to ever return, she would still go back to early childhood, because and I have to say, even with some of those kids, I worked with early childhood before, and I worked with, I'm gonna say, about 3 and 4. The highest I ever taught with early childhood was 5-year-olds. And if we think that the parents are crazy, you should have heard the mouths of some of those children. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, who raised you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you tell people shut the F up? I'm like, it's not that kind of day,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-mm.
So, yeah,
Mm.
some of them kids were quick to tell you to suck this and F that. I'm like, whoa, whoa, wait a minute.
Mm-mm.
I'm like,
Unacceptable.
I'm like, wait a minute. I understand times are hard, but I'm like, dang, the babies too. So
Wow.
it's sad. It's just really sad. But I always look forward. I always look forward to the good times, because at the end of the day, maybe something happened that morning. I always keep things positive, because
Mm-hmm.
we never know what these kids are going home to.
Yeah.
Some
True.
I know when I was in high school, I helped take care of, to help take care of the household and everything, because my mom, she held it down.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I would never put a business out there because she'll kill me. But I'm gonna just say this: I had to hold things down while she was at work.
Mm-hmm.
So, so
Yeah.
trust me when I tell you, like, whenever we got out of school, it was like, all right, go straight home, don't open up the door. And as a matter of fact, if we
Mm-hmm.
all grew up the same way I did, those check-ins, like, hey, yeah, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
All right, make
Mm-hmm.
sure your homework is done by the time I get home. Okay,
Right.
cool. Yeah, it was the check-ins for me.
Yep.
But it was good, because now
Absolutely.
as a parent, I totally understand those check-ins. Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Got to know where the babies are
Right.
Yeah.
at
And
all
I got a
times,
story about the little
especially
ones.
now.
Mm.
I got a story about the little ones.
Mm.
Girl.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes.
It's always that one kid, that one, how just be just that one kid
Oh.
that you just be like,
Mm-hmm.
somebody jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it on purpose.
Okay, so
They
I
do it on purpose.
I got this one particular
Mm-hmm.
one. Well, it's two. It's not just that one. It's two, two of them.
Right.
Okay, so a couple of
That's
days
it.
ago,
Exactly.
she decided she wanted to run down the hall, and I was telling Jenavia, I had went through this with her like the first week I had started. I had to chase her, and I'm like, yo, I ain't sign up for all of this. But anyway, I just had to chase her down the hallway, and then a good part of the latter part of the day, she decided she wanted to run all the way up the steps, and another teacher had to chase her, and I just felt so bad, and I was just like, because that little girl is a handful, and no shade, but when she goes
Oh
home,
my.
okay, I do the dance of joy
It's a
silently.
celebration.
Okay, like when she goes home, when they call her name with a
Because
loudspeaker and
those are the
say,
ones.
okay, they call her name on the loudspeaker and say such and such is going home. I'm like, because if I could do a cartwheel, I would, because
No,
that little girl she is
I
just,
girl.
Mm.
No, what's funny is when they're absent.
oh,
Mm.
When it feels like the student who causes the problems. When they're
uh-huh.
absent, it's a sense of calmness.
Mm.
Yes,
It's a sense of we're sitting on the beach, like everybody is sitting down in the beach with a
yep,
nice cold fruity drink in the hand, a little
right,
Hawaiian punch or something. And
mm-hmm.
then next thing you know, when that child comes back, I'm like, oh man.
You'd be like, Mama
But I mean, it also shows exactly like coming in there like the Tasmanian devil sometimes. I'm like,
God,
oh god, come on, I like Taz. Like, don't ruin it.
Right.
But yeah, the little ones there, they are definitely a piece of work. Even my kids from grades 1 through 6, I get a lot from them. They get a lot from me. And sometimes, I
Yeah.
come down to their level and I'm talking to them, about life things, and they always ask me like, "Oh, Miss Knox, or either one time, this one child, he decided he wanted to, as they say, test my gangster. So
Mm.
one day I don't know if he had a cup of cup of courage before he got to school that day. Good kid, but I kind of had to go in on him because one thing you don't say, "How about if I do this to you?" Because on that day
Right.
he learned. So one day he came up to me and I'm, grading papers, because I'm helping out one of the teachers and everything. And he said, "Oh, Miss Knox, what if I come up to you and punch you in your face?"
Mm-mm.
Excuse me?
I know that's right.
Excuse me?
Right?
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And he was standing there like smiling, but he had his fist balled up. I said, "If you hit me," I said, "I'm suing everybody in your family."
I know that's
I said,
right.
"I'm coming for everything."
Mm.
I said, "I'm coming for you, your mama, your dog, your cat, your brother, your sister, grandma, grandpa. I'm coming for everybody."
Your
I said,
grandfather's
"So think
dog,
twice
all of
before you
them.
decide." Okay? I said, "So I would think twice before even trying to, not even punching me." I said, "I would think twice before even try to say them words out your mouth again."
I know
Because
Mm.
that's
I'm like,
right.
right now, technically, I can sue you for, I said, I can sue you for assault, even though you
Mhm.
did not hit me. I said, so you might want to think twice about, you might want to think twice about that one. Because in my mind, I was saying something else. And of course,
I
I
know
would
you
never say
was.
it out loud. But I'm thinking in my mind, bro, if you put your hands on me, I swear on everything I love, they're going to be scraping you off this ground. That's what
I
I
know
was
that's right.
thinking. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, keep it cool, keep it cool. He
Keep it
obviously don't
cute.
know who
Keep
he
it
messing
cute.
with. Keep it cool.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll put it to you like this. That was the first, the last, and the only time he ever tried me like that.
Mm.
I know that's right.
Y'all,
Shoot.
I don't know what's up. I'm like, y'all need to leave them talkies alone, cause making y'all look like y'all crazy.
Mm.
Hello?
Oh.
Sodet?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I'm still here.
Thought we lost you for a minute there. Okay. So we're gonna go back
No,
to
I
the
was saying they
comments.
need to leave them talkies alone.
Oh, yeah. So in
Mm.
the comments, Teresa Hazeli says, "Yeah, kids are wild nowadays." Shaking my head. Michael Connor said, "Parents'
Tell me
responsibility to
about it.
ensure that their children are instilled with wisdom and understanding of who they are. Too many parents, if both are present, coddle their children, and some don't know what they do on the streets until they get that call that no parent wants to hear. As parents like
Ooh,
mom
tell
and
me about it.
grandmother had the strap." Right? Orlando says, and that is why I didn't become a teacher. And Michael Connor said, whenever I hear children curse or act a fool in public, I know I had my moments as a child, but I had my brothers and mom that strap to set me straight.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Orlando again said,
I know that's right.
right? Okay. I can't let them kids disturb my peace of mind. The Lord has improved my patience. Orlando, man, listen. And Orlando also says
He's
teaching
on a
with baseball
baseball bat.
bat.
Yeah. And it's so sad that it has to comes to that. Like you said, who raised you? Who's raising you?
Right. Because I used to ask that question sometimes with the little ones. I used to be like, who are your parents? Like, and
Yeah.
then when I met some of the parents and then I
I
understood, I'm like, oh, got it.
You
Because
Yeah.
some of them
understand
parents,
exactly where they get it from.
Mm.
yes.
They explain why. Like even 2 years ago, I had a child I was working with. He was in fourth grade, and he was the only child who was actually very low in reading.
Mm.
And I worked, and trust me when I tell you, he was the absolute worst child. And I'll go to the fact that sometimes, well, throughout my years of teaching, I've always had, how they say, oh, I'm not working with them kids. They way bad. They're this, they're that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Meet the teacher who has always worked with those kids, and
Mm.
they never gave me a problem.
Mm.
They never gave me a problem. Like, oh, we've been waiting to work with you. Oh, yeah, because my teacher this, my teacher. And I'm like, yeah, chill, because I'm like, I'm still an adult, because the way they express their teachers, I'm like, dang, I wonder if you didn't like me, what would you say? But I've had some of those teachers. I mean, I had some of those students, and even like I said, like 2 years ago, I used to work with this one kid, and when I say he used to cuss everybody out, he used to
Mm-mm.
cuss everybody out. And like he was just angry. And I can't go into his exact business of what was going on. I'll just say like this. When parents think they're doing stuff on the low, they think their
Mm.
kids don't understand what's going on.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
the kids are very well aware of what's going on. If they can tell you where you can find so and so, a kid can tell you where you can find, certain things that are not good. If they can tell you and show you where to go, they know exactly what's going on with their parents. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, with this child, mom was the one who stepped out on a marriage, and she ended up moving away,
Mm.
pregnant with someone else's child. And
Oh.
he was left in New York with his father and brother. And to be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about the family. I just know that this boy was growing up in complete turmoil, which
Mm.
showed in school. And this is the reason why he was angry. So when I got a hold of him, he felt like one of my kids. Like, even
Mm.
though he was disrespectful to other teachers, his own teacher, he kind of, he dealt with her, but he wasn't like blatantly disrespectful to her. Well, with me, he acted like he was one of my kids, and I kept telling him, I'm like, honey, I don't have any sons, I have all girls. But he
Mm.
was like,
Mhm.
well, now I'm your only son. In my mind, I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Wow.
But I let him play on that because I knew of his situation.
Yeah.
And one day, I tell you that one day he was so far gone. Whereas one day he had some scissors hiding in his sleeve. Now at the time I didn't see it. And of course he wasn't
Mm.
going to use them on me, but I knew that this kid was prone to like slipping weapons and certain things. So I would work with him one on one because even the kids would refuse to work with him. So I would work with
Mm.
him one on one. I always had to change my ways anytime I dealt with him with reading. And so one day we were talking, and we were almost finished with the group. And next thing you know, he showed me the scissors discreetly. I was like, go put them scissors up. No, Miss Knox, I'm playing. I'm playing. No. And I had to get serious. I'm like, don't play with me like that. Put them scissors up. And like kids, like, oh man, he gave me
Mm.
that versus like, I said I wasn't going to do it. Like, I didn't get that from him. I never
Mm.
got that from him. Because I think what it was that I wasn't loud with him. I wasn't rude to him. So I'm thinking maybe that's the reason why I got the respect from him that I wanted. I didn't say, oh, if you behave, you can get this, you can get that. And that's another thing about me. We don't negotiate. I don't negotiate. I don't give you stuff unless if you're behaving or whatever. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't pay for behavior. If I
Mm-hmm.
say I'm going to give you something, it's only because I'm like, okay, not only is this child good, but also I see this child is really interested in it. And if I see it, sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get so and so this to make their day, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But I don't
Mhm.
like, okay, if you behave, I promise I'll buy you lunch. Because
Right.
one time it was one girl who did earn it. And I said, okay, you know what? I said, I'll buy her lunch or whatever. I said, she really doesn't give me a problem. But I said, she did something that was like so spectacular. I totally forgot what it was, but I said, okay, just write down to me whatever you want. I should have put a cap on that
Mm.
before I told her that she can get whatever she want, because it looked like I was going shopping at a grocery store. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh my
My
goodness.
girl ordered McDonald's, Wingstop. Can I get her a bag of Takis, great Gatorade, Arizona? I'm
Oh.
like, what the heck? Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I was like, what is this? But unfortunately, I never got her Wingstop, but I did get her a McDonald's. But I was like, okay, next time I'm gonna say, you got up to $5. All right, sorry. Teacher
Right.
salaries are okay, but they ain't all that. So, but no, she was a cool kid, and she was always doing stuff. Not only to impress me, but also to impress her teachers as well. And she was very mindful of the fact that she grew up in a family whereas education was definitely important because her mom, I'm not sure what her mom did, but dad was a professor in New
Mm.
York, and they ended up moving to North Carolina, which was a huge loss. But I hope they're
Wow.
doing well out there because she was such a. As a matter of fact, that family, all of the kids were triplets. So I ended up working with the girl, and they have two boys. So, but that it was a like some families, even some families where I worked at in Newark, some of them I reached out to today. Like a lot of them still know me. A lot of them, as a matter of fact, some of them have me on their list, on their friends
Wow.
list. Like I remember, yes, students from like
Wow.
20 something years ago, and now all of a sudden they have families. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I'm getting
Right.
old for real. It's so good to
Wow.
see that because the full circle moments are always my favorites. They're
Yeah.
definitely my favorites. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, dang, I'm like, I taught this kid. Like, what is going on? But those are the things I'm truly proud of as a teacher because to see them, navigate society the way they are, and even my younger daughter, who's about to graduate high school, like, we keep telling her, like, yeah, keep your eyes focused, got to lift your head up from the phone, move about very quickly, but also carefully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very true. Very
Hmm.
true. So back to the comments. Michael Connor said, I'd be looking like Joe Clark and lean on me on some of those children.
Okay.
And he
Hey,
also said,
look, I admire Joe Clark. Trust me
oh,
when I tell
okay,
you, I like Joe Clark.
okay. They used to call me Joe, but now they call me Batman.
Good man. Okay. Yes. He had every right to lock them damn doors and
I'm telling you, them
keep them
kids
damn.
was rotten.
Mm,
And you
Hats
know
off
what?
to him,
Before,
for real.
like for real, yes, like he really changed. In my eyes at the time, he really changed the way you know a school building should be ran. Yeah, it was unconventional.
Yeah,
I mean, what's success without a little controversy? But
yeah.
Joe,
right.
Joe Clark, may he rest in peace as well. Joe Clark
Hmm.
definitely set a precedence in his school. Like, yeah, you gonna give me some freaking respect now? Come on,
Yeah.
you
Right,
coming up in my building?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's think about this.
Yeah.
But
And he
as a
got
matter of fact, right
a
before I started teaching, I had a I had a chance to visit Eastside High School, and those students at the time when I went, it was kind of like early 2000s. Those
mm,
Hmm.
kids, they even to this day, some of the kids that I saw and everything,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I saw some really positive things in at the school. They made it a lot brighter in there.
Yeah.
Nobody was going crazy, nobody was acting wild. Now that was 20 something years ago. Can't say how it is now,
Mm,
but because at the time I was working in Patterson, so I was like, at the time it was cool because of all the changes and everything. And now, I don't know how it is now. I don't know anybody, that I know who has gone to Eastside High School. If it's changed or not, let us know. But yeah, we did my friends and I, we did a workshop there. And at the time, we were working with young teen mothers and women about women's health and, other, and telling them about resources in the community that they could reach out to for help, for assistance if they had children, because a lot of the teens that we were meeting, a lot of them were first time parents, whereas a lot of them came to this country, and because if area of Patterson, it's a lot of people from different countries. I dare not say foreigner, because if I say foreigner, then I'm gonna say pretty much we're all born into a country where it does not belong to us. But I'm
Mm.
Mhm.
not gonna get political about that, But
Yeah.
people from different countries, a lot of them migrated in Patterson, and a lot of them didn't speak English, so they were afraid to open their doors to us sometimes because they thought we were like immigration. It's like, no, 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 no.
Mm.
Like, no, we're here to help. So once we won them over, pretty much, they were allowing us to come in the house. When we were talking to them and everything, they allowed us to come in the house. They wanted to feed us and everything. I was like, no, 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 necessary. But of course, we took because we didn't want to insult them. Like my grandparents, if they cooked and you didn't eat, you insulted them. So I was like, all right. But that's the community that I like to work with, like kids, especially kids who are not in areas where they're going to receive what they need. So those are the areas I like to work in because everybody has a right to a good education, whether you pay for it
Mhm.
or not. And my motto has always
Absolutely.
been I'm going to provide a top-notch education to my students at a free cost.
Mm.
Because
Right on
public
to
schools,
that.
yeah, I mean not public schools, I'm sorry, private schools and all those schools where you got to pay for a good education, they're okay. But like I
Mhm.
said, I would rather serve in an area where my brown and black people, where we can actually we actually can access those, you know, good resources and everything. So that's another thing I wanted to do too when I became an educator, was to like resource, like find in the Bronx area, especially like a lot of resources where parents who come from different areas, the large portion of the parents that are out here are from the Dominican Republic. So if you know anything about the Bronx, is more Latinos out here than there are in any other borough. And I try to compile a list together as far as like where they can reach out to, because a lot of them still don't know, and that's sad, and a lot of it's not available to them. And then some places it takes them a while to get to, just to get those services. Because for me, teaching right now, I live down the street from the Bronx Zoo, if anybody knows that area, and I travel darn near almost to Coney Island every day. That's a trek.
Mm.
Mm.
That is a trek. That's dedication, but it's also a trek. And by the time I get here, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Because also at the end of the day, I do after school. So now I'm the head person for our after school in the building. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I
It's really a
know.
lot. And this year, it's a lot. It's a lot. I can't say that it's easy, because it's not. But by the end of the day, at least when I go to sleep, I'm like, you know what? I've done what I had to do. And I'm like, just save the rest for tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
Shout out to Sodet Knox, top
Yeah.
notch teacher. Yes.
Most definitely. Yes.
Snap it up, folks, for Sodet Knox.
Mm.
Snap it
You know
up.
what? I learned a lot about myself.
Hmm.
I learned a lot about myself. Wow.
Yes.
You know what? Because for me, it's like breathing. I just do it. I don't think
Yeah.
about a lot of the stuff that I do. I just do it, and I don't look for, sad to say, but it's facts, it's facts. I don't look for thank yous. I don't look for praises.
Right.
I don't look for pats on the back. I just do what like I said, it's like breathing. It's like anything. You just do it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you,
Yes,
especially
ma'am.
now, especially since you teach reading, specifically.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the book bans that's going on right now? Because they taking books out of schools,
Yeah.
they're taking books out of the
Yes.
libraries. So, what are your thoughts on book bans that they're doing now?
It's like, to me, it's like losing that village again. You're losing that grandfather and that grandmother,
Yeah.
because to me, first of all, I'm gonna just come out and say it, because I've been trying to be, a little demure, as they say nowadays, but I think it's dumb. Okay, I'm gonna just straight up say I think it's dumb,
Yeah.
because some of those books, like as a matter of fact, at one time, I believe Blubber was one of those books that was like controversial and they tried to ban it as well. And I remember reading that, hearing that book for the first time and the grade that I think I struggled the most in, which was fourth grade, because I almost got left back. I'm not gonna hold you.
Mhm.
Um, but once I started doing well in fifth grade, I was cool.
Mhm.
But Blubber was the first book that really spoke to me a lot because I remember being picked on about some stupid stuff. You
Yeah.
know, like people used to pick on me about certain things, and I can't help the way my skin color came out. No, I wasn't burnt. No, my mother didn't leave me in the oven. And yeah, this is the stuff I used to hear, like, four eyes and everything. If you
Mhm.
know me, I wear glasses, but those books got us through because the author was speaking a language that we could clearly understand. Maybe
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
didn't know, the word bullying, but we knew that if there was a whole book about it, we knew something was up with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think book banning is pretty much taking away their freedom of speech.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
definitely taken away people's freedom of speech and basically their source of income. If you feel that strongly about what you're reading and what you're writing and everything, I just say, look, do what you got to do.
Mhm.
Because what may be trash to somebody might be treasure to somebody else.
Right.
Like I said, personally, I think it's stupid because how are you
Mhm.
going to ban something that you may not understand, but everybody else understands?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
cannot base you can't do something, you can't stop something because you don't like it or you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Other
Right.
people it might help. And I'm not talking about like these, gangster love stories. Look, again, I say if you like it, I love it, but those are not my type of books. The type
Right.
of books I like to read, like I'm a huge Sister Soldier fan.
Yeah.
I love again Judy Blume books. I even sometimes I read even the kids books or whatever. As
Mhm.
long as you're
Mhm.
reading, because
Yeah.
even sometimes from kids books you can get so much. I remember reading
Yeah.
when I first saw the movie, I remember reading the Freedom Writer's Diary. Oh my God.
Mm.
If you saw the Freedom Writers and if you
Mhm.
saw how the way they got through things was through writing, read
Mhm.
that diary. That diary is everything.
Yes.
The Freedom Diary was everything. And I think I
Yes.
read it like twice and I
Mhm.
loved that book
Yes.
because they were talking real in order to keep their and see that would probably more than likely be on the book ban,
Mhm.
if they were really discussing it because that book spoke about these kids and their lives. It was nothing made up. These were authentic words, genuine words coming from these kids
Yeah.
living in California in the area that they were living in Long Beach because that's where the high school was.
Yeah.
um they were experiencing a lot of stuff. So, and they were experiencing a lot of criminal stuff. So, in
Yes.
order to keep their identity safe in that book, Erin Guwell, who was the teacher at the time, she said, "Okay, you're going to be entry number one. You're going to be entry number two. You're going to be entry number three, and so on." So that's why I love the teacher. She kept their names and everything out of the book because a lot of what they was telling, they were actually telling like some very serious stuff, like that could have put people away for like a long time and more possibly got them killed. So this is the reason why she covered it. But she said, I'm going to give you guys a number rather than having your names. And the fact of the matter is that when these kids got to meet the woman who hid Anne Frank in her attic, all these other people who they read about and admired, like these pages came to life for them. So banning them sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Most
does. Um, Poesson said, "Have you ever gotten a
Because
child
if we
that
if we
test?"
would have banned them, hmm
Oh, sorry. Poesson said, "Have you ever gotten a
huh?
child that tested low but could read, really read on a higher reading level?"
yeah. That's a good one.
Did you hear me, Sodet?
Oh yes, yes, yes. And by the time, I'm not going to say that I was a miracle worker. I wasn't a miracle worker, but when you put, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can
Hello?
hear you. We
We
can
can hear
hear
you.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I heard the question.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, okay. So I've had a student who tested low. I mean, who was really smart but tested low. Part of the reason was also, unfortunately, in one particular instance, mom was doing the homework for the child. And that doesn't
Mm.
help, and we all know that. That doesn't help the
Mhm.
child. So I had to, I sat down with the child and I knew something was up because I'm thinking in my mind, okay, this kid is good, very smart, very intelligent, knows what's going on. But when it
Mhm.
came to questioning, even this week, I found out there was another student who was just like that one. The child couldn't really write on their own, and with in schools now, especially here in New York State, third through eighth grade, they do the ELA and math state testing.
Mm-hmm.
The head
Mhm.
knowledge was there. It was just the writing it on the paper. And come to
Mm.
find out, like they said, when we found out what was going on, because I remember it was one parent teacher night. And a lot of times I stay, just to get my hours and everything. And then, by the time most of the parents start coming, I'm like, all right, see y'all later, I'm out. But when I'm there and I'm able to understand what's going on, some of it came down to either the parent and or their older siblings was actually
Mm-hmm.
just doing the work for them.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
sometimes there was no one there to guide that child as far as, understanding the word. So they just said, well, just try it on your own. And see, those are some deadly words because obviously the kid is coming for help. They need help. They can't
Mhm.
try it on their own. They tried to try it on their own and it doesn't work,
Mhm.
And then a lot of times too, and I failed to mention, in the programs that I was in Grand Canyon University, because when I was going to school getting my master's, I got my master's in educate general and special ed education. Some of it too was the fact that the parents were not seeing what they wanted to, as far as like, well, my child is smart, and it's not the fact that whether the child is smart or not. Sometimes there is a learning disability that is
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
there, that is present,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why we tell, and I know, a lot of parents, especially in black and brown communities, a lot of them feel like, oh, if my kid gets tested, oh, they're going to be labeled special ed or stupid or something. Far from it. Far
Mhm.
from it. Because if they only knew the resources that special ed can provide, they get their own curriculum where it fits the need of that particular student, which is
Mhm.
known as an IEP, which means individual education program.
Mhm.
Individual, that means that this particular lesson plan is being taught to your kid and your kid only, based on what other people have seen.
Right.
Because there are some kids who slip through the cracks, unfortunately, because of the fact that some of their parents at least don't want to get them tested, for services. Because again, I say there's nothing wrong with that. And as I've told a parent, whose child definitely needed one of those services, I said, look, nobody's gonna know whether your kid is on a regular general education program or need an IEP and get special education services, because a lot of those services are, again, they are curtailed to fit the need of your child, not anybody
Right.
else's kid, nobody but your own. And the only way that they would know that your child has an IEP is if you tell them.
Yeah.
Nobody has to know,
Right.
and it's none of their business,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, we don't just say, oh, the child can't read, give them services. No, we try to find out what's going on. And it's not just me as a reading interventionalist, it's also what the teacher sees. Because some of my supervisors can tell you I take very detailed notes, especially when I see something going on with a kid. I'm like, yeah, this is not right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to, because first and foremost, the first person I talk to is the teacher. And sometimes when the teacher and I are having conversations or whatever, they'll be like, Miss Knox, have you ever seen so and so do this, or is he or she finishing the work in your group? And depending on my answer, we might be thinking the same thing.
Mhm.
And then sometimes it could be a personality conflict. Maybe the child don't like me. Maybe the child don't like his teacher. Maybe he or she hate both of us, you know? But
Mhm.
it depends on that particular day. Because I work with kids who can't stand me, and I just tell them, hey, look, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your teacher, and that's it. I say if friendship came, if I was being paid for extra for friendship, I guess I wouldn't see that money because I'm here to help you. I don't care about a popularity contest. I can care anything about that. I said, but my job is to make sure that you're reading and you're reading on and or above grade level by the
Mhm.
time you leave the school year.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Ooh wee.
Ooh, that was a lot of information. Back
Yeah.
to the comments.
Yeah,
We have.
yeah. I'm very, you know what? I'm very straight. If anything, teaching has taught me to like, girl, you got to speak up. You got to talk. You got to advocate for yourself. Like you
Yeah.
advocate for your kids, you got to advocate for your
Right.
students. And
Yeah.
and I've been doing this now I've been teaching now for probably this year. As a matter of fact, I've been teaching for 24 years, off and on, in and out of the classroom.
Mm.
All
Wow.
right,
24,
you got.
wow, almost three
Yeah.
decades. Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Go, Bojet.
hmm
Go,
But
Bojet.
like I said, the despite the ups and downs, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
And I love working with kids. That's the reason why I teach, because I love working with kids. And because like I said, if you knew me from before, I was extremely shy. I didn't want to say much or whatever. As a matter of fact, you could talk all your trash and I'm halfway down the hall not responding to you. So, but nowadays, especially with these kids, you have to speak. If you are working with the public, you have to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I find a lot of too. Like sometimes even the teachers get overwhelmed. And when the teachers get overwhelmed, some of the kids like, oh, even my teacher don't like me now. Like, what's going on? So it's a lot because, and I'm not going to say every administration, because every administration is not like that. Some administrators, in certain schools all around the city, country, wherever, a lot is being put on teachers to do. Like we literally have to, when it comes down to it, it's like we're really like reinventing the wheel, but we're putting different parts to it now, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, in the comments, we have
So I
Latasha
give it up to the
Jimerson.
parents.
Show your love for Latasha Jimerson. She's in the building. And
Hi,
Poessa,
Tasha.
Poessa said, ooh, child, I got on glasses, still can't see. Okay. We had an experience where a teacher was suggesting that a child needed to be tested, but when my husband stated where's the paperwork to sign and etc., the teacher stated that we needed to see the counselor. Needless to say, we discovered that the teacher had an issue with our child because she wasn't going to conform. Oh,
Mm.
Oh wow, that sounds like a personality clash.
yeah.
And that's what I said. It's that, see, you got to, as a teacher, whether you, because trust me, there's some students I worked with, whereas I'm like, if I just bump into them and trip them and make it seem like an accident, then I'll get away with it. But no, you got to take your feelings out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not it's not about you at the end of the day. For a teacher, it's not about us. It's
Yeah.
about the
Right.
kids that we
What's a
serve.
child? Yeah.
Basically, it's about the child or the children. Exactly. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with some kids who I downright couldn't stand. And I'm like you, Tanisha, when they wasn't there, it was like happy days are here again, but
Yes.
you know, when
Uh-huh.
that child came, I still, and even if the child comes to me and gives me a hug, I miss you, even though you are, as they say, hell on wheels. I still gave that child a hug.
Right.
I still, because I took my feelings out of it. I gave
Mm-hmm.
that child a hug. I gave that child a pep talk whenever he or she needed. And then by the end, so when I took my feelings out of it, that made me really enjoy that child even more,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
because even the mom at the end of the year, even the mom was like, I know my kids were terrors and this, that, and the third. I told the parent, I was like, yeah, your kids gave me a run for my money. I said, but I said it wasn't about me. It was about them.
Mhm.
And that's what you got, and that's what teachers have to understand. You got to take your feelings out of it, because if you put your feelings in it, it's kind of like you stooping down to the level of the kids now,
Mhm. Right.
and you can't do that. Like, who's the
Mhm.
adult?
Okay.
And see, and other people can tell, especially when you don't like a certain child, they can tell,
Yeah.
But if I have issues with the child, it is because of their behavior,
Right.
Yeah.
And now, even now that I'm gonna say a very well veteran, I'm a very much veteran teacher. There are some kids I don't really, deal with whatever because of their behaviors. But if I'm assigned to work with them, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
then
I know
again,
that's
here we
right,
go.
girl.
Got to take my feelings out of it, and I just go in there and I do what I have to do. They still may be frowning in their face because they got to work with me. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, I don't even know you. Like, come on. If I can sit up here and I can put, I can cover the tears of a clown, so can you. Like, come on, let's do this. Because at the end of the day, it's you who has to learn how to read.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's
Right.
another thing too. I don't like when I hear teachers say that. Well, I got my education, so you got to get yours. I used to do that, and I stopped. Because
Mm.
nothing.
Yeah.
If you want to kill a child's self-esteem, say that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Say those
I
words to
had
them. Well, I
teachers
got
like
my
that.
education. I don't like that. That's why one day I said that one day, and I think I saw the child's face like literally crumble.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I said, never ever again will I ever say that, because I said it's demeaning. And
Yeah.
some of them probably
Mm.
hear, demeaning things in other classrooms, even demeaning
Mm-hmm.
things from their household.
Yeah.
And so now the person that who they are trying to trust has now
Mhm.
said something demeaning to them. So it's like, yeah, once I saw that happen, I mean, me and the child are good now because I always try to make amends. But I
Mm-hmm.
said in my mind, I was like, duly noted, never say those words again. And that's what I
Yeah.
don't do anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, we have James Parrish in the building. Hey, James. What's up, Jimbo? James. James.
I,
James said,
I
learned that from Dr. Umar. And Poesson said,
Oh my
exactly.
yeah.
God.
I definitely have to give you your flowers
Mhm.
because learning how to read is so important, and people teaching
Mm-hmm.
people how to read is so important because
It
there was a
really
time
is.
when Black folks wasn't even allowed to read.
Right.
And so my mother, she taught
Say that. Say
high school
that.
dropouts how to read at one point. So I
Mm.
definitely have to give you your
Hmm.
props. And my mother made sure I knew how to read. I read every single book, paper, any type of ad in the paper or
Hmm.
magazine. My mother made sure I knew how to read. If I didn't do anything else,
Yep.
she made sure I knew how to read. She made sure I had a library in my
You
bed.
read.
And
Hmm.
yes, and to this day, that's what I do. I read, I
Mm.
study, I write words, I read the
That's
dictionary.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, there's
There you
nothing
go.
like knowing how to read. Because if you don't know
And
how to
some of my
read,
kids,
you won't be able to do too much of anything if you don't know how to
Right.
read. So, and I'm doing the same
you're
thing with
not
my
going
son. He's
far.
in turn two, and I'm reading with
Exactly. You
him.
can't go far.
Right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
So I
That's
gotta
it.
give
Reading
you
is
your
very
flowers for
important.
taking this
And this
on.
is the reason why I don't. Thank you. Thank you. Because even like some of the libraries in our neighborhoods, like, I know there's a huge library, because I used to live in Manhattan. Well, I lived in Harlem, but right in Manhattan, there used to be this huge library. People used to talk about that library all the time. I don't hear much about it, but see, even visiting a lot, like there was a library that was close to us when I lived in Harlem, and it was over in Harlem River Houses, and it was like right there. It looked like an apartment building, but it was actually the library. And I remember going in there every single time, whether it was to use the computer or whether it was to do something, get books for my child and everything. But it's like people don't support libraries anymore, and this is the reason why a lot of libraries are or have closed down, because
Mhm.
people are, now that they got computers at home, they figure, okay, I got a
They
library
don't
in my house. I don't
library
have to leave
anymore.
the house. I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's still important to get a library card. Like I use during the 50 years of hip hop, which was like what was it, like last year, I believe, when they were giving out, they were updating the library cards. They kind of made it, tailored towards the, during the 50 years of hip hop. And, as I said, and most of my friends know, I really enjoy hip hop. So yeah,
On time for
I
hip
updated my
hop.
library
Yeah.
card and everything, and they were a part of that. Like the libraries and the hip hop community got together and they made limited edition library cards for the 50 years of hip hop. So it's like if there's anything that could get you to get a library card, something like some sort of promotion or whatever else, then
Mhm.
let that be your motivation to get one. Because I spend so much time throughout the week in Brooklyn. I don't have a lot of time to see like what's going on in my own hood. So on
Yeah.
days when we have off from school, I walk around, even when I go, when I have to go like shopping or whatever in my neighborhood, I
Mhm.
tend to look around and I see like what's going on. And it's a lot of things that they have out here for us. But see, unfortunately, like Jenavia said,
Mhm.
you don't know what's going on if you don't read. If you
Yeah.
don't read, if you don't get aware, because yes, we have the internet, wonderful tool, especially when it's used in the right way. But when it's
Yes.
not used in the right way,
Mhm.
if you feed your mind garbage, don't expect fruits and vegetables to come out
Right.
good.
Right.
You're gonna get garbage,
Right.
Right.
you know. So I
Hmm.
always make sure wherever I go to, wherever I move to, I always make sure certain things. Number one, where everything is that where the community gathers, and number two, where's a library?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Like I have to make sure that a library is near and is present.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right on,
Mhm.
Sodet. AKA Bodette. No, Bodette knows the library.
Mhm. It's funny that
Yeah.
she, because she's there in New York, and she's talking about Harlem and the Bronx, and you're in the Bronx, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I have family there in the Bronx. My aunts and my cousins
Okay.
are there. Yeah, so it's funny when you say it. I started thinking of my aunt that's there, and I wonder if she know my aunt or
Mhm.
my cousins. Probably maybe seen them.
It's funny. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a huge borough,
Hmm.
but you know what? I wouldn't doubt if I probably ran into them, or because the Bronx is not really big. Like out of the five boroughs, Brooklyn is actually the biggest borough of them all.
Oh
Brooklyn is
wow.
definitely that borough that we're in. Yeah, and I believe Manhattan is like it's like an island, but it's like over 8 million people in that
Yeah.
island. But
Mm.
I like the Bronx. And I've always been that kid where everybody, when they found something, like if 99%, if 99 people found something popular, I was always that one who went left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I said, you know what? I said,
Hmm.
a lot of my friends who live in New York, they live in Brooklyn, they live in
Hmm.
Queens, Staten
Yeah.
Island, Manhattan, or whatever. And I'm like, they're like, girl, you live all the way in the Bronx. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
oh,
Both
the
my
Bronx
both
is so ghetto.
yeah, both of my
Exactly. They was
parents.
like, oh, the Bronx is so ghetto. This, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, no more ghetto than Brooklyn, no more ghetto than Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, whatever else. I'm like, no,
Right.
we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Like,
better let them
no,
know,
partner.
Bodette. You better tell
Yeah. Yeah. My aunt, uncle there. I got cousins. Both my parents are from the
Oh
Bronx.
wow.
My brothers and my sister,
Oh
they're from the
wow.
Bronx. They're from the Bronx. I'm the only one that was not born and raised in New York.
Nice.
So
them.
yeah.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
And I still haven't been to New York, and I'm 36. I still have not been to New
Oh,
York
you
yet.
got to the girls, girl.
Oh
Every time
my
I make
goodness.
make plans to go out there, something will happen to where I can't go, and I'm like, but I'm
You
gonna make
can't
it out there.
right. No, I get it.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm gonna make it out
absolutely.
there because I need to see. I need to
Absolutely.
see the Apollo Theater, and I want to see. I want to see stuff out there. Y'all got so much stuff out there that I want to see. Like, I really want to see New York.
You know what's funny?
I ain't
You
living
know
out
what's
there. It's
funny?
too cost too
When I
much.
moved to
But
Harlem,
mm-hmm.
I
Uh-huh.
didn't. Girl, tell me. That's why I live in the Bronx because it's a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I moved to Harlem and I first saw the Apollo Theater up close.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, like what is it, the Roman Chinese Theater in Hollywood where they have like the footprint of the stars.
Yeah.
The one
Uh-huh.
thing that impressed me about the Apollo was that they had the footprint of all those who did the Chitlin circuit at one
Mm-hmm.
time, like Red Fox and all the
Yeah.
rest of those
Wow.
comedians. They have like their own little, yeah, they have like pictures of the stars who have, performed there during that particular time, especially when they weren't invited to places like, like the Cotton Club, because
Yeah.
even though black performers performed at the Cotton Club, they still had to go through the back and come through the,
Right.
and come to the stage that way versus just walking in through the door.
Mm.
And Apollo allowed them to be themselves because this was a place you know, for entertainers who
Yeah.
were of African American descent
Yeah.
came to perform and came to, and this is the reason why we've had comedians like Richard Pryor and
Mm-hmm.
Red Fox and all those different ones who played the Chitlin circuit. I know
Yes.
definitely Red Fox was one of those people who played
Mm-hmm.
the Chitlin circuit. And even when I introduced my kids, both of my kids, to Sanford and Son, it was because I watched it. I'm a '70s kid. I'm
Mm-hmm.
showing my age. Yes, I am. I'm a
That's
'70s
right, because
kid,
we
but I
OGs.
enjoyed the
Okay.
'70s. That's
Mm.
you know, I definitely enjoyed everything about the '70s because we had those people. We had like good times. We had,
Mm-hmm.
rest in peace, John Amos, like one of my
Yeah.
favorite actors. And I
Yeah.
met
Mm-hmm.
him years ago at Grand Avenue Community Center too, because that's the time he was living in
Wow.
Newark, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely remember it. Mr. Amos was such a gentleman, and he is definitely missed.
Mm-hmm.
And who else? It was a lot of people there. And like I said, and what impressed me about it, because on TV it looks so big, it looks so huge. And the Apollo, if they didn't have the marquee, you probably miss it because it's that small. But the Apollo, especially amateur night,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I literally see the people lining up outside just to come see amateur night. So the
Yeah.
Apollo
Mhm.
still has that appeal to it. 125th has changed, especially in that area,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still the epicenter of a lot of different cultural experiences. And
Yeah.
even now, a lot of Latino performers who are identifying themselves as Afro
Mm-hmm.
Latinas, they are also embracing a lot of culture. So when I see people, even people who are not black or brown, I love and I work and I enjoy being with people who are of different cultural backgrounds. I'm like, as one of my
Yeah.
friends said, I am like the colors of Benetton. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's good. So I don't discriminate. That's
Yeah.
one thing about me. I never discriminate. If you see my page, I'm always cracking jokes, laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And now I joined this teacher podcast, whereas, I log in and we just discuss different things in regards to education. And I've also followed certain podcasts like Board Teachers. Board Teachers, is one of my favorite podcasts
Mm-hmm.
because some of these are teachers who were once teachers and they left the classroom because of, the lack of assistance from their admin team. And so they
Yeah.
decided to, even though they left the profession,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't really left the profession because now what they do is they get together as a collective and they talk about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite from the board teachers podcast is when they're like, crazy requests from parents. I don't know if y'all ever saw me share that, but some of the things the parents ask the teachers to do, it's like, no, because that will be considered something else. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like one parent one day, and I'll never forget this, her daughter was sick and the mom brought some medicine to school. So I was like, oh, okay. And the mom told me that the daughter was supposed to be going away. So her medicine's in her bag. So I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, whoever this child's gonna be with, they have to give her the medicine. No, mom wanted me to get the medicine. I'm like, oh no, the devil is a whole lie.
Right.
No, ma'am. No,
Right.
ma'am. As soon as your child starts saying she's starting to see stars or whatever, no, mm-mm,
Yes.
no,
Right.
ma'am, no,
Right.
ma'am.
I know that's
I
right.
told her, I said respectfully, no,
Okay.
I can't do it. And
Right.
she was like, "Oh, well, so and so teacher did it," and she named the teacher who worked in the building who actually gave her kids some medicine. I was like, "Ma'am, with all due respect, no,"
Mhm.
because I said I'll be that one teacher who might accidentally over medicate, and your kid ends up, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, we're not doing that." I said because I'm about to be a licensed teacher. I'm like, absolutely not, no. And she got offended.
Mm.
Wow.
And she really got offended that I said no. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm really thinking in my mind, I'm like, how you mad?
Right.
Why?
Right.
But in my mind, I told her, I said to myself, like, like I tell the kids, I'm like, you be all right.
Mhm.
Mm. Mm.
I'm not
Mm.
giving anybody. I said I am a teacher, not a nurse.
Right.
Right.
She
Right.
gonna be all right.
You know.
That's what the school nurses are there for. Like you, what the hell?
Mhm.
Oh, have mercy.
Wow.
Like, oh, she just have a little cough. No, ma'am, you should have gave her that medicine before y'all left the house. Like,
Right.
no, I am not. I'm like the only person I'm advised to get medicine to, other than myself, is my children, and that's it. And even with like other relatives, I'm like, I don't think so.
Mm.
No,
Yeah. I know that's
all right,
right.
can't do that. No,
Right.
ain't doing
Oh
it.
my goodness, the time is
And that's
really
just some of the
flying.
crazy requests.
Mm.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm looking. I'm like, hey.
So before we end this breezy night, because everybody's being breezy with us on Facebook,
Mhm.
I'm
Sadet, what
sorry I
is the
can't see y'all.
It's all right. It's all right.
yeah?
And that's
It's all right, girl. Sadet, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, and what is the takeaway that you want to give to the viewers and listeners for tonight's podcast?
So the best advice I was given was from my earlier supervisor, who was also the vice principal of the school, in
Mm-hmm.
regards to teaching. She told me, she said, to interrupt the parents at work. And
Mm.
I'm explain why. Interrupt the parents at work because if their child or children is interrupting your teaching, your job,
Mm.
interrupt that parent and tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
And keep interrupting them. The more interruptions this child is giving you, the more
Mm.
interruptions you give that parent.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm.
we're all here to work. We're all here to work. We're all here to teach. This kid is here to learn. And if he or she is interrupting you, keep interrupting that parent. And then watch how everything goes. And during that particular time, that actually worked.
Mm.
It
Mm.
actually worked. Nowadays, these kids are like, oh, well, call my mother. I don't care. Here's the phone number. I'm like, nope, I have her number right here on my phone too. Some of that, it cuts that down. Like, yeah, oh, you want to show out in front of your friends? You want to be smart? I'm like, no, no, I got one up on you, buddy.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
the one takeaway that I can give to everybody is just, from a teacher to all the parents out there, just know what your kids are up to.
Yeah.
Right.
Get to know them more, have a conversation, put the phones away,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, find out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because our kids are out here, it's kind of like, even when we go to work, we know when we go to work what we got to face. But schools are different nowadays.
They
Mm-hmm.
And
sure
these
are.
kids are falling into some things whereas we don't even know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have to have some of the kids, I would say I'm pretty much savvy on a lot of the TikTok and all those trends and everything. But then when I really don't understand, and sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm gonna need one of my kids to translate. And sometimes, it might go so far as whereas we might have to ask my younger daughters, like, here, what certain things mean or what certain trends these are, and she will explain it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, sometimes my mind is just completely blown because
Mm-hmm.
of the fact that if these parents don't know what's going on, they're going to have kids who are going to be in some messed up situations,
Mm.
Mhm.
jail, um, hooked up on something, hooked
Mm-hmm.
up on someone, people running away, people, you just got to know what's going on. I
Yeah.
know parental locks and everything, it might seem, you know, harsh to some people, but it's necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
It
necessary.
is definitely necessary because you, like I said, you got to know what's going on because how many times have we known kids to, take it upon themselves to leave with someone who, they think is 13 and goes to a nearby school and the kids walk out the door, sneak out the door, crawl out the window, never to be found again, except,
Mhm.
unfortunately, in some cases, you might
Yeah.
find different parts of this child everywhere.
Yeah,
And for Facebook, that's why I'm saying it like that.
yeah.
But you just know what your kids are up to, and if you are definitely a parent who supports your child's education, keep
Mhm.
doing that because teachers like me, we really love that because of the fact that we know that parents are, and even sometimes the grandparents have to step in or other people have to step in. If you are caring for a kid and your child's in school and you are one of those kids, if you're one of those families who get involved, stay involved. Be
Mhm.
Mm.
all up in their business.
Yeah.
Be all up in their business. As a matter of fact, I had a parent who told me, "Yeah, my kids live at home, but there are no locked doors in my house.
Yeah.
I know
Like my
that's
kids
right.
are
Yeah.
10. My kids are 10, and at the time her kids
Mhm.
were 10 and 7. She was like, my son's doors are always open, and
Open.
before they go to bed at night, I check everybody's phone because I need to know what's going on."
Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, so in short, stay in their business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stay
Any
in their business because the
Hey,
more you know, you can always be about 2, 3 steps ahead of them.
right.
mm.
Any more questions, Genevieve, you have for Sodet?
Uh, no, I think she pretty much answered most of my questions. Really, My
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Fine.
you.
All right. Sodet.
this
So
was
Sodet,
absolutely
who would
delightful.
you like to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Shout out to Africa. It's like, no, I mean, well, yeah, them too. But
Wakanda forever.
I just want to give a shout out to yeah, Wakanda. There you go.
Wakanda
No, I just want
forever.
to no, that just came to my mind. I'm sorry. But no, I just want to say thank you to everybody, even for the few who are out there listening to me. Again,
Mhm.
I say the camera sucks, but we got to make it do what it do. But just
Right.
thank you because you guys could have been doing other things and yet and still you're listening to me.
Mhm.
And, like I said, my experiences in education because, you have the good times, you have the bad, you have the crazy, you have the ridiculous, and then you have the downright like, did that just happen? So just, I just want to just say thank you to everybody who was listening today,
Right on.
because it's definitely, you guys are truly appreciated because like I said, you guys could have been anywhere else and you tuned in. So, humbly I say thank you because, it takes, as I said, does take a village to raise a kid, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
also we have to, as the villagers, we have to make sure we keep the kids well fed.
Right.
Right.
And doing what we supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on. Genevieve, you want to give any shout outs?
Shout out to the both of you. Most definitely. I love
Thank
both of you.
you.
Both of your
Thank you
personalities
so
are
much.
absolutely amazing. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. To be honest with you, I really enjoyed this. I'm awake now because I was fully
Right.
tired when we started.
Me
I'm
too.
up
Don't
now.
even need no GMS
So
tonight. Don't
y'all's
even need.
energy got me up
And
now. So
uh,
yeah. So shout out to the two of you. Um,
thank
most
you.
yes, and shout outs to everybody that was listening, everybody that's in the chat. Shout outs to y'all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
shout out to everybody in the
Yes.
chat. Jimbo, James Parrish, Poets and Spoken Word, Teresa Hazel Eyes, Michael Connor, Gladys G. Bryce, and
Damn,
who
it's lit
else?
tonight. Really?
Uh,
Ooh, that's been pretty
Poets
lit
and
tonight.
Spoken
Mm-hmm.
Word, Orlando Chandler, Maurice Huff, and Kanisha Akra, aka Kanisha Love Taylor. Yes. And shout out also to Jay Silent Night. Jay Silent Night, man. Listen, I'm gonna need you to come on the podcast and do your right Cerrone poem.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Silent Night.
Oh,
Come
I
on,
gotta hear
man.
that.
Come
I gotta
on,
hear the
man.
Rice Romney poem.
But I call it that, but it's not really a right Cerrone poem. What happened was,
Oh, okay. I'm like, man, shoot, I gotta hear that.
Right. Like, wait a minute.
no, what happened was, back in the day, I think this was like 2004. Me and Isis was at this place called Zafra's. It used to be a vegan restaurant, and they had an open mic there. And that was the first time I met Jay Silent Night, and he did this
Mm.
poem. And then, like towards the end of the poem, he went in his back pocket and got a rice aroni. So that I usually do that
Wow.
little rice
Oh
aroni
no.
joke.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Jonathan Ware.
Back then.
After nine, after nine. If we need to speak, let's do it after nine. I said after nine,
Oh my
after
god, I
nine.
remember that. I
Tommy,
remember that poem.
yeah.
I was
Yep.
crying when I heard that the first time.
Yeah. So shout out to Jonathan
That was
Ware.
that's a classic.
It is. And he did it on my podcast too. Shout out to Jonathan Ware.
Oh snap, that was a classic.
Yes. Shout out again to James Ellerby, who will be co-hosting with me next week. Um, Shout out to Orlando Chandler and Roberta
Hey,
Chandler, Writer's Block member Jacquees Armstrong. I'm gonna need you to come on too, Jacquees,
hey
Writer's
sis.
Block. Okay. Henry and Taria Busby, Writer's Block. Thank you to and shout out to Dami Afuye. Dami Afuye, who does trailers. You need a trailer, book trailer for your book. See Dami, he's doing a promotional for a couple of weeks. See Dami if you need a book trailer. Shout out Latasha Jimerson, Shanine Young, the SBN crew, Commissioner Dr. James McConnell, Gladys Bryce, Shannon Hudson, Indigo Divine Brown, Sean A. White, Latanya Davis, and Little Trin. Little Trin has a podcast on Fridays. She comes on at 8. Little Trin, she's awesome, little 9-year old. I ain't never seen a 9-year old that awesome in my life.
Mm.
Shout out to Little Trin. And shout out to my mom, who will probably be watching this at another time. She always comes through, show love. Shout out to my cousin Scott Jacob, who was on a couple of weeks ago. And shout out to my cousin Isha Yakov, who will be coming on sometime soon. That's going to be a very interesting podcast. And all future
Nice.
podcast guests. Shout outs to you, and everybody who is listening and take your time out on a Friday night to listen to Live with Mz.KIR because you could be doing other things. So thank you for showing me love. You can also subscribe over to my YouTube channel, folks. And also you can like and follow the Writers Block Poetry Collective here on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And you can join my group, Tanisha, aka Mz.KIR, the poetic lyricist. And let's see, do I have any other announcements before we go? Let me think.
Mm-mm.
No, can't think of any.
Mhm.
So
Hey,
again, this is Tanisha, aka Mz.KIR. This is Live with Mz.KIR via SBN Small Business Network, episode 325, I believe, and episode 11 of Live with Mz.KIR. I want to say thank you again. Wishing you all love, peace, edges matter. Don't no let nobody tell you edges don't matter. Edges they matter.
oh my God. Okay. It just matter.
And y'all be
Power to the
breezy.
edges.
Oh my hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag edges.
Hashtag.
Hashtag edges matter. I'm about to put that on Facebook right now. Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord.
Be breezy, be breezy. Oh yeah, happy birthday
Oh
again
Lord,
to
I'm
my
about to
dog,
die over
Asada
here.
Knox. Happy birthday to my dog, Asada Knox, sister to Sodet
Oh
Knox.
yes, it's her
Oh
birthday.
yes.
All
I'm
right, folks, y'all be breezy out
Yes.
there. Peace.
peace, y'all. Bye.